Welcome back to the Assessment Intensive Crisis stage. Hope you had a nice lunch and you're ready for our last session on this stage today. Let's welcome Natalia Gonzalez, Evaluation and Assessment Director at the Colombian Institute of Evaluation, Icfes.
Hi, Harold. It's really nice to meet you, and it's really nice to be here and be part of this amazing forum.
Well, thank you for your participation, Natalia, and the audience is all yours.
Great, great. Is everybody seeing Harold, my presentation right now? Just want to confirm. Perfect, great. Okay, so well, I'm here. I represent the Colombian Institute for Evaluation of Education in Colombia, Icfes. And today my presentation has to do with fostering large-scale assessments and evaluation tools in times of crisis. And I'm going to talk a little bit and share with you guys the Colombian case. Basically, I have 3 stages or phases I want to go through today. I want to put you into context, tell you a little bit about our challenges during 2020 and what we did to overcome some of them. What we've done, of course, show you a little bit about, or tell you a little bit about our projects, our programs, our state exams, and a little bit of data to of course, to talk about and put into context and see the scope of what we've done. And last, but of course not least, some of the lessons learned. So let's get started. So a little bit of context. I don't know how much you are familiar with what we do here at Icfes. Icfes is the institute in charge of administering, of course, designing, constructing, processing, scoring, and of course, reporting results of all of our state exams. We have 3 important state exams in Colombia, which are Saber Once, Saber TIT, and Saber Pro. Saber Once is a state exam, a national state exam that is basically used for entrance to the university. Saber Pro and Saber TIT is another of our standardized tests, which is designed for students just about to end their undergraduate, a professional program, or a vocational program. So that's basically one of the things we do at Icfes. Of course, there is a lot of research going on, research that involves other factors that, of course, have an impact or are correlated with the results in our national tests, like associated factors, among others. So, like I said, the Colombian Institute for the Evaluation of Education, Icfes, is the institution that makes the evaluations or tests to students who are in different educational cycles. Based on these evaluations, the national government, of course, and policymakers develop plans, programs, and among others, strategies, of course, in order to improve the quality of education in our country. However, of course, and this is probably not a surprise for all of those who are seeing this presentation today, we had a lot of challenges due to COVID-19. I'm going to mention 4 of these challenges. 4, of course, we had many others, but these are the challenges that we focused on. 1, we had to give continuity to the country. How could we continue providing testing services while mitigating external factors such as COVID-19? The second, convenience. How can we offer online and offline options while maintaining consistent statistical outcomes and guaranteeing at the same time the technical quality of a paper-based test? Third, diversity, of course. How can we provide tests to students with disabilities, both in a computer-based version and in a paper-based version? And last, but of course not least, improve cost and time efficiency. What do we mean with that? How can we apply cost and time-efficient processes, and how can we achieve economies of scale? So of course, having said that, well, since the onset of COVID-19, countless countries have suggested that large-scale assessments don't make sense during these times. Some education specialists have even encouraged governments to step down and cancel evaluations and assessment programs to focus on strategies for children to work efficiently from home so that learning gaps don't increase. However, the former shouldn't be ruled in order to achieve the latter. What do I mean with that? One of the basic challenges we faced was, of course, we offer testing services to the country. Standardized tests are national state exams. But at the same time, we had COVID going on, and we still do. How could we make the administrations of our test efficient? Of course, we had social distancing as well. And well, if you put all of those elements together, well, we have a lot of challenges, of course. So what did we do? I'm going to tell you what we did, but in a few minutes. But another thing that we also did was think out of the box. Most of the institutes are basically, I would say, reluctant to move to other type of assessments. And so I'm going to tell you about one of our programs, one of our special programs that's called Evaluar para Avanzar, that was basically, we gave birth to Evaluar para Avanzar due to COVID-19. So what have we done? And what are those new tools for assessments? Very important. So first, Evaluar para Avanzar, assessing to track progress. Well, here in Colombia, Icfes has made huge efforts to maintain large-scale assessments, such as administering 2 out of our 3 nationwide assessments in a computer-based format. A leap we could have not taken if it weren't for the pandemic. So basically, that's trying to see the glass not half empty, but half full. Not only did we work side by side with the Ministry of Education to guarantee that the country understood the public and the social value that evaluation and assessment has as a cornerstone for making policy and institutional decisions. Now, reflecting upon the educational disruption, that Colombia was facing, our team started to think about or began to work on different new ideas to basically, provide support to our teachers, students, and families. That's how Evaluar para Avanzar 3rd grade to 11th grade was created as a program designed for teachers. What did this program consist of? Well, basically, we provided evaluation tools to teachers. Therefore, that way they could support and their diagnosis in terms of how much of the different aspects of children's learnings have been, of course, set back. So we had we offered test booklets for 3rd grade students up until 11th grade. In addition, we offered teachers' guides for interpreting students' results. We offered as well student reports for teachers. So basically, we used something called classical test theory to test each student that used each booklet. And in basically real time, we delivered their results, but we delivered these results to teachers only. That way teachers could use these results to basically do some analysis. We also provided institutional videos for teachers to identify their students' strengths and weaknesses and design teaching and learning strategies. What are we actually working on right now in terms of this new program? I would say new, it was 2020 when we gave birth to the program, but now we're in 2021 and we have a couple of new products, supports or strategies that we're going to offer teachers this year. Our new version of Evaluar para Avanzar, and it's in addition to the 3 booklets and the 2 booklets that we offered last year, and of course, all the support in terms of the analysis you could do or the different exercises or analytical exercises you could use when looking at the data, and the videos, of course, to how to interpret results, among others. We have developed new tools, keeping in mind that it is important to support teachers with materials and tools so they can use the students, so they can use it with students for learning. And of course, we know what's this called. This is basically a way of formative assessment. We also offered assessment rubrics, a list with a set of criteria that allow assessing the learning, knowledge, or skills achieved by each and one of the students. And we provided orientation guides and rubrics used for the use of teachers, and of course some instructional videos. That way they could, get into the sense of how do you use a rubric? Why would you set this criteria and not others? That way, not all teachers, of course, know how to use rubrics. So that was that is something that we're going to offer this year. Just one note aside, this program, the second version of the program, we're going to launch it in a month and see how that goes. What else are we working on? Well, the Institute is working on a large-scale assessment for students in 3rd grade, 5th grade, 7th grade, and 9th grade, which seeks to provide feedback on overall achievement levels to policymakers. This evaluation will not cost for the selected schools and the administration, is a controlled sample. We use statistical techniques that permit generalization of results to target population. As an innovation, the field trial for 7th grade will be included. Well, the pilot of this large-scale assessment was done in 2019, but due to the pandemic, we had to postpone it. And now this year is our baseline for 3rd, 5th, and 9th. And this year we will also include 7th grade as a pilot. Additional information as well is collected from students in 3 questionnaires: socioeconomic, associated factors, and social emotional skills of the students. And teachers and leaders and different principals as well will receive a questionnaire on associated factors. In other evaluations, so up until now, just to summarize, we have Evaluar para Avanzar. It's not a standardized test. It's not a controlled test. It's basically Icfes thinking about teachers and the educational community. So what have we provided? We have provided booklets with different items that are, of course, designed under a controlled environment using the diseño centrado en evidencias, which I think it's centered-based design methodology to construct all our items. But of course, we can't control what teachers do with those booklets and how those teachers work with students. But that's the whole idea of Evaluar para Avanzar. Support teachers with different types of materials and strategies so they can do diagnosis and, of course, work with their students in terms of how much of those different learnings are being achieved. We've also talked about tercero, quinto, séptimo, y noveno, 3rd, 5th, 7th, and 9th, a large-scale assessment that will be baseline this year for students in 3rd grade, 5th grade, and 9th grade. And this year, we will try to make the most of this year and pilot 7th grade. But of course, we have our national state exams, which I talked about initially at the beginning of my presentation. We have Saber Once, we have Saber Feite, and we have Saber Pro. So we successfully adapted, when 2 of those 3 state exams, we successfully adapted our current application or administration and made changes in all our assessment procedures. Why? Well, because of COVID and all of the logistic challenges, we adapted our procedures, our internal procedures. As a result, all 3 national tests were successfully carried out. We used new technologies using artificial intelligence that allowed us to keep high security standards and protocols while administrating our national tests. And also, the collaborative work between different government institutions and non-state actors allowed us to successfully carry out the test administration of all 3 tests. This is a couple of figures of data I wanted to show you, to share with you. You can see the graph on my left-hand side reflects student participation in Evaluar para Avanzar in 2020. And over 430,000 students participated in the program with respect to our target sample, which was 2 million students. Now think about it. This was a program that Icfes brought to life in July, and out of all the negotiations with the Ministry of Education, we launched it in October last year. We had 2 months, October and November, and in between those 2 months, we gathered 450,000 students. That means a lot of teachers using, of course, our program. In addition, when we talk about our national state exams, our large-scale assessments that we do each year for students that are going to graduate from high school and going to enter or about to enter a university, which is Saber 11, we implemented almost 600,000 tests. This was a paper and pencil-based test. We had to divide it into moments of time, the Southern Hemisphere calendar and the Northern Hemisphere calendar, which basically means we had in the Southern Hemisphere calendar, we had almost 98% of the whole population of Saber 11 was public schools, and the other 2% are private schools, which basically are where the test was administered in the Northern Hemisphere calendar, which was basically, I think, in October of last year. And then we had our computer-based test, which were Saber TIT, vocational testing, and Saber Pro, which is the professional, the test that is administered to students that are about to graduate from a professional program, an undergraduate program. And in that order of ideas, we offered, or we were able to administer almost 80,000 tests for Saber TIT and almost 300,000 tests when we had Saber Pro and Saber TIT. We basically have 2 moments in time during the year where we administer Saber TIT, which is the test for students that are finishing vocational programs. And that is administered at the beginning of the year and at the end of the year. But due to the pandemic, we had to basically move the first application to August of last year. And the second application was done in November last year. So as you can see, it was a huge effort that Icfes made, not only to provide a different set of tools, a different type of assessment, which is Evaluar para Avanzar, but to, of course, stay focused and to not allow those missing values, which are important for policymakers to, of course, make decisions and implement programs. In addition, of course, we have all those lessons learned. What are those lessons learned? I'm going to go through them. Well, first of all, the solution isn't to cancel large-scale assessments and state testing. The unavailability of students' results, both in primary and mid-secondary and undergraduate programs, is worse for the educational system than counting with the measurement of students' achievement, even if they turn out to be low. At least we know what we're going to face for the next 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years, or who knows, probably even more. Thanks to the continuity in our national testing, we were able to produce data and information that provide feedback on overall achievement for policymakers. For this, we managed to make adaptations that allow us to maintain comparability over time. We also, of course, learned a lot of things of our large-scale assessment. Why? We continued with the pilot. We analyzed the data that we had from 2019. And that has allowed us and will allow us to gather evidence and information so that researchers can measure the impact that pandemic has on student achievement and learning. We designed a complementary strategy, Evaluar para Avanzar, 3rd to 11th grade, to support teachers with teaching and learning tools in order for them to gather more information on their students' strengths and weaknesses. And of course, last, we work together with all the education community, providing tools to support teachers and foster teaching strategies for them to work with students. Thank you. Muchas gracias.
Well, thank you, Natalia. Let's see if we have any questions from the audience or in comments. I see that there are a couple of questions there. There was one which is like Christina was asking is if this program mainly is for the public schools.
Sorry, Harold, could you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, it says like Christina was asking like if this program is mainly for public schools.
That's an excellent question, Cristina. It's mainly for public schools, yes, but of course, private schools participated as well. There is something about your question that invites me to tell you a little bit about the implementation of the program. Because we have a big chunk of Colombia is and schools are located in the rural area. We offered 3 types of formats so that the program could be implemented. We had an online version of the program, we had an offline version of the program, and we had a paper and pencil based version of the program. So each time a teacher registered their students, each one of their students, the teacher had to decide what format he was going to use, if it was a paper and pencil based or a online version or a offline version. Whenever he ticked one of those boxes, he had access to, of course, the booklets, but in a different format. If it was an online version, he would have to enter the platform. If it was a paper and pencil based, for example, version, then we would send through email the booklets in a PDF version. He would of course administer the test with his students or deliver the test to their houses, and then the student would register the answers. Would deposit the answers in the booklets. The booklets were, of course, returned to the teachers, and the teachers had to, in a spreadsheet, in an Excel sheet, they had to register the answers of the student. We would receive them via email, and we would process them and send them back.
Well, thank you. I see it seems there are no more comments or questions so far. We still have, let's say, a couple of minutes. I don't know if you would like to highlight something else.
Well, I don't know how many of the participants here are Colombian, but if there are, well, of course, our mission in Icfes is to provide testing services. And of course, among those testing services is our state exams. They are important, but right now working with teachers with our program, Evaluar para Avanzar, is a complementary strategy. And if any of you are aware with the program or familiar that it exists, well, I encourage you to participate, because as principals and teachers, each one of you can contribute to, of course, the impact that we can make in terms of trying to work with those learnings that students have not developed due to the pandemic last year, and try to catch up. And at the end of the day, these instruments are for learning purposes and not of learning. So like I said, we focused on trying to support teachers with different strategies that would help them in the formative assessment that they deal with, they face every day in class. So I would encourage teachers and principals, if any of you, of course, are Colombian, to use them, because they will make a difference, and we hope that they have an impact on students' learning outcomes and learning goals this year.
Well, Thank you. There is another question. Christina Suarez is asking if the performance of rural students was different according to the different methodologies which were used during these exams.
Actually, that's a very good question again, Christina. Remember that this is not a standardized test. So I can't really know if the performances were greater or lower, higher or lower in the rural areas than in the urban areas. And the reason why we don't know that is I have a lot of data and I have a huge data set. But say I have a student that worked each booklet 2 times. The first time, the teacher downloaded the PDFs. Say we're on a paper and pencil based version, and worked with the students before the lecture in a certain topic was done. So basically, the teacher used it as a way to support the diagnosis. And then another teacher, right, in the rural area as well, same grade, same subject, worked with students, but not before the first lecture on a certain topic was going to be done, but after. So probably the results will be different. Why? Because the first teacher worked with the students using the booklet previous to the lecture or the class. Whereas the second teacher, he used it after he gave his first lecture on a certain topic. So as you can see, the results will be, I wouldn't say biased, because this, again, is not a standardized test. It's a way for teachers to use the material that Icfes produces, which is controlled because we are aligned with the curriculum. And in that sense, we're asking the questions that are not pointless and that are correlated or aligned with our national curriculum. So when you talk about performance of rural students versus performance of urban students, I think that we cannot, as Icfes, answer to that. Those that can answer are the teachers that are really using this material to make a difference. Because as I said, this is not a controlled environment. Teachers can do whatever they want in the sense of use it previous to the lecture where the next topic is going to be worked, or after, or even use it for students to work in small groups, or even because in the orientation guides, one of the elements that we are providing in those orientation guides is the explanation why. Say you have a multiple choice question, where you have 4 choices, A, B, C, and D. We are explaining why B, for instance, is the correct answer, but at the same time, we give a justification, an explanation as to why option A, option C, and option D are not the correct answers. That way, teachers can get creative, because a way of providing creativity right now is students. Why is this the wrong answer? That way, they can think in the negative version and not in the positive version, in the sense of not thinking in terms of I got to get the right answer, but trying to discard the wrong answers and understanding why option A, C, and D is the wrong answer, and probably shifting the student to understand why B is the right answer. So I'm sorry to disappoint you. I can't really talk about comparisons in terms of percentage of correct and incorrect answers in the rural area and in the urban area, because I think that would be an incorrect way of comparing 2 populations.
Well, thank you, Natalia. So I guess there are no more comments so far, no more comments. So thank you for your presentation once again. It was quite interesting knowing about this, let's say, this imaginaries that we have here in Colombia according to the assessing system.
Thank you, Harold, and thank all of the public who is right now, and all of the participants who are right now seeing this and participating of the forum as well. Thanks.